Hi, good evening, and hopefully I'm going to try and make some headway on the Warrior again, although I have been making slow progress on it from this bit. I don't know what it is. I don't need them anymore. I just seem to be a lot weaker on this than I have been on other characters. Now, I did have a little look through my gear and notice that I hadn't realised I wasn't equipped with my heirloom weapons, so I've now equipped those. The ones I had weren't hideously out, but they were a little bit. Right, who do I need? I need to find some people to give me orders. But I seem to be taking a fair old beating. Could do with you. Oh, and now we get the rest of them. Oh, at least I'm killing them more quickly, that's helping. Oh yeah, we'll have a gnome. That's fine. Oh, and someone else is annoyed that I killed their gnome. I don't know why. Oh, it's another gnome. That'll be why. Don't know if it's because it's the first expansion not played, but coming back to the game, hated these quest hubs. I have just realised as well, it's pissed about with my bloody screen again. What the hell? It's done it again. Right, okay. And now it's reset everything. Fantastic. Well, at least I've got the orders from them. I am having so many problems ever since I started streaming again. There's been a massive falling out. And I don't know whether it's because YouTube want me to use their new studio, but every time I try and use it, it doesn't work. Like, you put in all the stuff and it just doesn't broadcast. But anyway, you hate these quests of Najatar Mechagon. Yeah, I hate them as well. I absolutely hate them. The reason I haven't got Pathfinder is purely down to the fact that on my Paladin I really couldn't be doing with I couldn't be doing with them. I just hated them. Almost don't want to play without flying too. I mean, I mind that less because I'm one of those who didn't really... I sort of felt that they probably shouldn't have put flying in anyway. Or maybe, you know, have just kept it for TBC. Oh, not the others for that. That was quite quick. Right, what's all this? 100% rep buff coming tomorrow. Yeah, I heard that. So here's the thing. So I said on this stream, my understanding is that this wisdom thing, the buff we've got at the moment, what's it called? Winds of Wisdom, that's right. So my understanding was that this ends on the 20th and that then we get a rep boost. So I was thinking, well, maybe then I'll do the Najatar Mecha Gnome thing. But then someone's telling me that the XP buff lasts until Shadowlands now. So I've obviously missed that announcement. Hang on a minute. What's going on here? Oh. Nancy Barney asked. Oh, right, okay.
City's dangerous nowadays. Steer clear of non-enemies.
But anyway, well, I'm not going to bother for the allied races personally, but I may do it for Pathfinder. At the same time, just for completeness, because the main reason I would really want Pathfinder is for leveling alts purposes, but as I've already leveled a few of them without it, it's less important for that as well. But just for completeness, if at any point I'm playing the game in the future and I want to come back to these zones and and then I suddenly find I can't fly, that would be a bit of a pain. So yeah, just for completeness. So the XP boost does last until then. That's okay. I need to maybe I need to keep a closer eye on what Blizzard are saying, because that's the thing, I'm not checking it on a daily basis as well. Right, where is this treasure here? It's up there. Why are you playing now in case you come back to the game? You want the auction house map before it's put. Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I thought about that. When you work it out in terms of how many WoW tokens it'd cost a fair amount. So I'm not personally going to bother with the auction house mount. It'd be a nice thing to have. If I had been playing BfA throughout it, I'm sure I would have acquired the gold naturally. But yeah, I'm not that bothered. So for me, it is really just about. Let's have a look. Is that any? Oh yeah, because that there legendary is now quite far behind in terms of item level. Oh god, do you know? Right, because I've been playing ESO so much recently. You keep using the. Even moving just feels weird because it's very different. Everything's done very differently in it. Is this when I now? Oh yeah, go and do that chest first. Rep grind is work, it is. I mean, I've always hated it the best of times, and when you don't really need it. Because I am just getting ready for Shadow. This is all this is. It's just getting some characters ready for Shadowlands. I'll still have the Paladin as my main, because, I always would. But, in terms of what, other characters I may or may not want to do, I'll just get in them 220. And I have got, obviously with 2 accounts, I've already got one. I've got, Shadowlands on my main one, so I've got a level boost there if I needed it as well. And the reason I've held off getting it on my second account is largely because if I choose to get the physical collectors, which I don't really do. I don't get, but if just in case I did. I almost did last time. I almost did for BfA.
That's it, boys. Work him over good. Things have changed. I'm the captain.
So I'm just leaving that one for now. Because at the moment, I'm not returning to the game just because I have now got more time to play it a little bit. Oh crap. I'm really not getting on with this warrior in these sort of scenarios. Like, I'm doing something hideously wrong, but I don't understand what. Oh god, it has. Oh no, don't do that. Sorry, I do not know what. I really don't know what it's doing. It must. I don't understand at all.
Ooh, bad luck for you.
I can do without it doing it as well when I'm in a situation that I'm not dealing with very well. But anyway, revered is easy path. We keep saying that, but whenever I, you know, whenever I went in to try and do some quests, when you know, maybe if you know your way around a bit better. Oh, look, I ain't got anyone to use that thing on now. I haven't got any bloody health now. So I would train of thought when Are warriors supposed to be this squishy? I don't remember them being this squishy. Is it me? Am I doing something hideously wrong? Oh, done. Thank you. Yeah, I kept just taking. I just struggled to get rep at any reasonable point. I suppose if someone really knows the way around it, maybe it's not so bad. Where am I supposed to be going? Hang on a minute. No.
Well met.
Yeah, anything, whatever.
We must get to Vigil Hill. Quick, hop on.
Good job they didn't carry on following me. Am I going to play the Amazon MMO coming out next month? No. No, I'm not. I've got MMOs to be playing. At the end of the day, there's 2 new expansions coming out this year for games I already sort of play. Greymoor's coming out for ESO, so that's why I've been streaming on Tuesday evenings with ESO. So I'm also getting characters leveled up for that as well, so I can decide which one I want to play in that. And then at some point, Shadowlands.
Too late.
To you, rep grind has been quite natural. In fact, you can say some rep grind for me has. At the end of the day, you know, I think vanilla was quite good because in that one you got rep for doing things that you would naturally want that rep for. So you had raid-based rep, for example. You know, the rep that you would mostly want as a raider you got from doing raids. So that was all fine. And there were other types of reps for dungeons and stuff that again worked on that basis. What I don't like, I mean, it's for me the Pathfinder shouldn't need that level of rep. If it was like Honoured, that would be fine. The exploration side of it is fine. That makes sense. You know, if they wanted to add in do so many quests or something like that, that'd be okay as well. But in terms of rep, I don't really feel it for having to do revered. Oh, if I picked on someone else here. I don't like the sound of cannon barrage. Anyway, the beta was enough BfA for you and you didn't even play it. I mean, I played the alpha and the beta quite extensively for BfA, of course, because I was still when the alpha first came out, I was still intending to raid, of course. So you know, I approached the whole thing as a raider, even though partway through the process I knew I wasn't going to be. But I still sort of treated it as if I would be. still does all the raid testing for bosses and stuff like that. Right, I've done that, so I don't know what they're coming out for. Let's go and get this chest. You played the vanilla when it was live. I've no benefit from repeating it again. Well, that's the same attitude I have. The appeal for me, and I did, you know, when I was playing it, I was getting into it and I was, you know, spending time in it again. Let's just poke 2 of these more. The appeal for me was I really liked the zones and the style of questing. You know, there were certain things that I did think were good. There was things I think have improved since. I'm not someone who thinks that vanilla was better than it is now. I can understand people who do. But I think there were some things that were lost that were nice. But at the same time, it is just time for me. I don't have enough time to spend. I mean, I'd like to spend more time on. I mean, there's really 5 MMOs I quite like, and there's 4 I would actively. You know, if I didn't have to do anything else, if I could just play games all day, every day, there would be at least 4 games I would be playing every week at some point. But I just don't have the time. Which is probably a good thing, because it's not a healthy lifestyle. How many games you're looking forward to? You might have to explain some of those. I can get D4 would be Diablo 4. PoE 2 will be Path of Exiles 2. TBC to me means the Burning Crusade. So I'm guessing is not what you mean. You like Pathfinder in Legion? I don't remember minding Pathfinder in Legion, but then it could be argued that given that I was playing Legion as a Mythic Raider, it wasn't an extra bind for me to get it. Whereas maybe, as a casual player, the Pathfinder could be better designed now. Hang on a minute.
How can I help? Farewell, friend.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, that's. No one wants to put any effort into doing something trivial. Oh, for God's sake. Right, this was ill-advised. I'm running away. I don't know what happened there. I don't know why I aggroed all that lot. But I'm not having it. Run away. This is like playing bloody Classic now, isn't it? I'm not used to this. This never used to happen. I'm doing something wrong, aren't I? I am actually doing something badly wrong. Because... you know, I didn't intend to pull all that lot, but on most other characters, I would just deal with it. Here I am running away. You weren't a fan of the underground nightclub Paladin. The Paladin class hall, the only thing I didn't like about it was, as you note, it was underground, and yet it had a stained glass window. That bothered me deeply. And I'm not interested in the a wizard did it defense. Right, let's make sure we don't get too many of these buggers. So at this moment, I'd quite like to keep being able to check to my left, see what's going on and everything, but I keep feeling I'm going to die if I do. Right, let's have a look. Paladin's underground. Yeah, it was underground. It's just... The sewers thing for rogues, I did feel for rogues when that was announced. Because although, you know, I think it fitted the flavour, and if everyone's class hall had to be in some way based in Dalaran, you would say it would have made sense. But obviously rogues were expecting Ravenholt, and I think had a reasonable expectation as well for Ravenholt. And given that some class halls were nowhere near Dalaran, like the Paladin one for example, yeah, I think they got a little bit screwed, I have to say. What do you mean makes total sense with Lightsaber Chapel? An underground window. Well, really, you say rogues are rats, they get what they deserve. I mean, that would really be warlocks, wouldn't it? Warlocks should have the nasty, smelly place. But they don't. They got their own little demon world thing. Right, we've done all of those. I need some moss. Yeah, so yeah, I get this thing that Tyrion said beware that the Lich King was afraid of what's under Light's Hope Chapel. But I didn't think the thing that Arthur should be afraid of is an underground window. At the end of the day, what's under Light's Hope Chapel is supposed to be a load of like remains of holy warrior type things, well, paladins I suppose. You know, the spirits of paladins if you like. Not an underground window. An underground window is not something that should really fill the Lich King with dread. Or even be in existence. If it was in the major... See, if it was in a mage's class hall, you would not question anything. Any strange architecture at all, you would just go, well, a wizard obviously did do that. No reason for it to be... I don't even remember this bit.
I've always dreamed of adventure. Come back with stories.
I think I've somehow come to an area that I don't really want to do. Somehow. I don't know why. Never mind, it's another level down. I think some classes should have shared an order hall, like paladins and priests, or warlocks and... Paladins and priests, yeah, absolutely could have done. Certainly, that would have been fine. Oh no, I do remember this now. Remember this bit, certainly. The Warlock class was an asteroid in the Nether. Yeah, but it was their own little place. They weren't stuffed underground. I mean, their portal to it was underground, sort of. I mean, even that wasn't properly in the sewers. Right. Missing out. The priest class hall was a spaceship hovering out of space which fell unused. Yeah, but that... Okay, yeah. A spaceship that's been mysteriously absent since, isn't it? God, my gear really has been bad.
Fair wind.
How come I've not been getting these upgrades? It's a massive upgrades.
Keep a weather eye open.
What does she want
What's
this
the
turn?
situation? Duty calls. Hang in there, Flynn. Just don't die. I will see justice delivered. First to these pirates.
Beginning
and
of
then
Legion.
to
Priests go with Velen to cleanse the Dark Narrow back to Holy Narrow. Yeah, but
such devastation. Dalen's Gate never stood a chance.
the problem with the spaceships
If
is
Azeroth
that then
capable of this kind
when
of
you should,
destruction,
when you need the spaceships,
not
they're nowhere
even
to be
the
seen.
great Morales could withstand it. Time to fight fire with fire. Let's search one of their ships for some of those Azeroth bombs.
The whole thing was only designed really for paladins and shaman anyway. They were the only ones with truly iconic weapons. Everything else was just made up shit on the fly. What would I consider the worst one? I think the druids got the worst one. And they had 4 specs as well. I would have thought one of them would have been decent. Imagine spaceships and naval battle during the Kulturas cinematic. Well, I mean, we sort of, well, they almost got one. I mean, Jaina flew a bloody ship at the Battle of Lordaeron. But yeah, I mean, we shouldn't have needed Jaina to come along in a magic space. Well, the ship wasn't magic, that she magically propelled it. All Anduin should have needed to do would have been to say to Velen, can you blow the walls of Lordaeron with your massive spaceship and giant plasma cannon, please? You know, there's no real thought at all. That's the problem with it. When you know, if you're someone who's sort of grown up with the likes of Lord of the Rings, where everything is thought about in a certain amount of detail, and you suddenly come on something like this, and you've got a load of you've got a load of but wait moments. You know, you have a massive spaceship with a massive laser cannon. Why aren't we using it? Hunter class was more disappointing. Well, I mean, but it fitted though, didn't it? Yes, it was just a lodge on a hill, but that fitted. That's what you would if someone was to ask me what I would expect of a hunter class hall, that is what I would expect. A lodge, a hunting lodge. That's exactly it. Like the druid one, I hated the druid class hall, but it is what you would have expected of a druid class hall. Is that Guardian stealing my kills? Oh. Can't actually tell. Let's get more of these rats. Demon Hunter's got the Legion spaceship, yeah. Well, I mean, Demon Hunters, you wouldn't necessarily know what to expect for those. Although it wasn't a new concept, it was a new class. Should save those Azerite armor pieces to use them after hitting level 120. No, I'm not bothered. I'll get other ones at 120, won't I? Get them from World... If I want Azerite pieces at 120, I'll get them from World Quest. That'd, you know, make more sense. I'm really just getting these for Shadowlands. I don't intend to do very much at all in BfA. I'm unlikely even to do the cloak quest on most of them. I've done it on the Paladin. I've got the cloak. decent chance that I wouldn't actually bother on the other characters. We'll see how it goes. At the end of the day, I could look at it as Shadowlands has got a while to come out yet, and obviously I'm not in the alpha or beta, so... Ooh. Ah, no. Look, does that look nice there? Let's have a look. No, it's rubbish. The icon looks nicer than the actual thing. I think I want to get up there now. How do I get up there? What are even Demon Hunters even doing right now? I don't see any in BfA. DK phenomenon again. Well, I mean, you can argue the same with monks in MoP. At the end of the day, whenever they've introduced a new class, it's always been one that's linked to the storyline of that expansion. I mean, at least DKs have had some input since. I mean, in Legion itself, although every class had an input then. But Demon Hunters, their story has ended, just like, you know, well, for now anyway. Because where are the demons? They still exist, we haven't destroyed them, but the Burning Legion has been reduced, so the whole idea with demons in the lore, unless they've retconned that without someone telling me, has always been that they're too disorganised to band up and pose a serious threat. So instead what happens, can I, right, let's see, ah, boring. There is a path available, absolute liar. So with Sargeras gone, what do you need Demon Hunters for, really? It's the same thing when you destroyed the Lich King. The Death Knights that were free of his power didn't have any specific purpose anymore. Obviously, that may change again. With Shadowlands, we'll have to see. Black Temple wouldn't have worked. Hang on. Don't see any in BfA. Black Temple wouldn't have worked. Night Elf Demon Hunters with Blood Elf Concubines. There's too many questions to remain in High Elves. Not really. Because, you know, they're all elves. They can mostly all remember a time when they were literally all elves as well, surely. Now, Azeroth bomb. Oh. Did I not steal the Azeroth bomb? Oh, ooh. Uh-oh, I did. What's attacking me? Something was attacking me, unless one of them was just chucking something at me and I wasn't paying attention. And it's done it again. Absolute pain in the arse. What is hitting me? This is going to kill me and I don't actually know what's going on. Oh, there's something has now appeared. Little rat.
These'll do nicely. Let's get clear of the ship and give them a try.
Nels came from trolls, so trolls should be able to be demon hunters. Well, I don't think that's quite how it works. Although you know how it does work in reality in all these cases, and that is that eventually you will. I mean, oh God, stay dead. I mean, the problem with the way Warcraft is sort of set up, I'm not in general in favour. Where are the bombs? That's not the bombs, is it? I'm probably just stood in the wrong place. Oh yeah, I am. Sorry, train of thought. Yeah, I'm not in favour of having restrictions on class, race combinations and stuff like that. But in Warcraft you sort of have to. Can't have gnome paladins. Can't. Troll demon hunters in theory would be fine. But again, what is the purpose? What is the relevance? Like you say, demon hunters serve no purpose. They were supposed to be. It's a little bit like in Lord of the Rings. In Lord of the Rings, there's only supposed to be a small number of wizards. So when Lord of the Rings Online came out, obviously you couldn't have a wizard. They needed a sort of magical character, but they couldn't actually make you a wizard because there's only like 5 wizards in the game. Demon hunters were a little bit like that. There's only so many demon hunters. It's not like, you know, warrior or thief or something like that. At the same time, you know, once a discrete period of time has gone by, I'm sure they will just open it out to all races.
Maybe that was too close.
Probably make 2 new allied races elves.
Are you with me?
You don't like them changing what can and can't. Well, no. The thing is, when they make such a play of it in the lore, they really shouldn't. And that is, you can argue it's a weakness that they made such a big deal of it in the lore. But they did. Which means, because I tell you what I am always against, and that is changing established lore. There's no need for it. It's just lazy writing.
Aim for their powder barrels.
Oh.
Ha ha! Take that, you bilge suckers! Look! They're withdrawing! We did it! We actually did it! Still, they could be back. And if they bring those guns to bear on Borales... I'll tell the lieutenant what's happened. Meet me in Vigil Hill when you're done here.
Is she... Hang on a minute. Whoa, why isn't she giving me a lift? That is just rude. Too many classes anyway. Don't know why I don't know what possessed them to make so many classes in the game. What about the tribal blood elves added? What tribal blood elves?
Good day to you.
Oh yeah, we'll have the boots.
Heel sharp and anchor
trained my whole life for this. Stay on. We need to get to Borealis. The Lord Admiral must be warned.
Good, because I want to go to Borealis and get junk some of this stuff.
Why would Lady Ashvane hire pirates to attack Dalen's Gate?
Oh, the new skin tones,
Was
okay.
it simply a test of her new weapons, or something more?
Well, I mean, that's what I think they should have just, concerned themselves anyway with more cosmetic choices. More races is fine. You know, there isn't really an upper limit on how many races you can really have, and designs for the cosmetic side of it, but just sheer number of classes is too much.
Wait, what's going on down there?
Excessive.
This can't be good.
We're a fan of the blue blood elves either.
Finally, some action. We
I don't mind new races, because at the end of the day, with a race, you can either,
Always loyal.
like it and play it or not, and don't.
Something to
But with classes, that impacts on people because of raid balance and even balancing dungeons and things like that.
Trouble afoot. Keep your powder dry.
The only time where race is an issue is obviously if the racials particularly compel you to choose a particular race when you really don't like it. Like, it would be awful if there were such a thing as a paladin, a gnome paladin, and the gnome racials were best for it.
Dalen's Gate.
Which neither would be true, but let's say.
A pirate fleet struck the gate with overwhelming force.
Pirates? The Pride Wars can't even protect us from pirates anymore!
For shame! Catherine Proudmoore has spent her life doing what's best for Kultiris.
But it
Oh
is
yeah,
not enough.
Tauren paladin would be absolutely dreadful.
My dear
Who would
friend
ever inflict
Priscilla
that on
and
anyone?
I have discussed this. I believe that what is best for Kultiris is that I step down as Lord Admiral.
I will shoulder this heavy burden. I can only hope I will be a worthy successor.
Lady Ashvane has been my rock since those first dark days when we both lost our husbands. Now she will be the kingdom's rock. Now she is
A liar! So, this was your play all along. Despicable.
What is the meaning of this, girl?
Lady Priscilla Ashvane, you are under arrest for trafficking, conspiring with pirates, and high treason against the Admiralty of Kultiris. And we have evidence. Your company made the weapons that destroyed Dalen's Gate, using this. It's called Azeroth, and the Alliance and Horde are already at war over it. You hired the pirate fleet, armed them to the teeth, and set them upon your own countrymen.
And I almost... Priscilla, how could you betray the kingdom? How could you betray me?
You're too weak to rule, Catherine. Your family has always been too weak. The Proudmoore legacy of failure dies with you!
Oh,
What's the situation? We can do this. Duty calls.
you have a Tauren paladin and a gnome priest. I hope you're joking. Because that was a nasty surprise to me, because the first time I sort of stopped playing WoW was in Wrath, really. And then when I came back, and it was towards the end of Cataclysm, but because I'd left before the end of Wrath. I mean, I sort of left in Wrath after the first tier, but was still... I came back and played casually a bit, but then my computer blew up, basically, so that sort of stopped me playing at the end. So I knew nothing about Cataclysm. I wasn't there for the... what do you call it? The like the testing of the beta and alpha, anything like that.
Priscilla's escaping on horseback. Grab one of our chargers and chase her down.
Your little stunt meant nothing. I own this city.
So it was something as a surprise to me. Right, I did... oh no, I pressed the wrong... no, I did jump. What the hell? Oh, for God's sake. So it only lets you jump when it wants you to jump. So I have to wait for it to flash up, do I? That's rubbish. Oh. Okay. This is appalling. So yeah, I came back to find there were such things as gnome priests and Tauren paladins. And I have to say, both of them were something of a surprise.
It's over. There's nowhere left to run.
Insolent brat. This is far from over.
Okay.
Wait, no! You three, get a search party down there and find her. Hero, let's return to Catherine. Finally, some action.
You there. A word, if I may. Cool Tyrus shall weather any storm.
Lord Admiral, perhaps we should get you back to the keep. I can review the evidence against House Ashvane with you there.
Certainly. And your name is?
Talia, Mum.
In fact, the gnome priest was actually quite evil as well, which basically just justified all my fears were they ever to become a thing, because they also introduced something else which became known as life grip. I forget what it was actually properly known as, and this bloody gnome priest would keep life gripping me into shit all the time when I joined a raid guild when I came back in Cataclysm. The only saving grace is that you can't have a gnome priest and a Tauren paladin in the same raid group. I'm going to junk some stuff first.
I have many, many wares.
Save me getting on mine. What's this? Astral Alchemist Stone. Where did I get that from? Oh, that must be a Legion thing. Did I know that the Gnome King was resurrected in Mecha Gnome questline? No, I have kept a bit of a weather eye on storylines, you know, watching YouTube videos and so on. I don't think I've made it a priority to catch up on gnome lore, however. So no.
Many deals for a friend of the Grummels, like you. Where your feet find good trails.
Right, let's
I have many, many
get rid of that, get rid of that. I'll keep my legendary just for the hell of it.
Gilneas will prevail.
Something to report? For the Lord Admiral.
What am I supposed to do now? Oh, I forgot to do that. What does he want me to do? What have I just accepted here? Oh, it's a dungeon quest. Ignore that then. Go and do a little bit of stuff in
Well
Drusvar.
met. Farewell, friend.
But I better go and turn in that quest over there that I'd forgotten down south. See what they want here. Or maybe I should just do this one.
The Horde will fall.
Right, I might do that one. Let's just going to take a little journey south and back again, and then I think I'll go and do that last foothold thing rather than Drusvar.
What can I do for you? Keep the wind.
Wasn't Mekatork a raid boss, in which case he was supposed to die? It used to annoy me, all these people saying that, you know, like Method had got the world first when they never even killed Mekatork. He just ran away. Oh, okay. Well, whoever it was actually didn't, because no one got world first, because no one killed him. In my day, you didn't defeat a raid boss until you killed them. You were happy Limit got world first. I was sort of, you know, it's not good for any sort of competition to have the same winner each time. So, although I'm sort of neutral on it, nobody had world first Sunwell. The purpose of that particular fight, though, was not to kill Jaden. You were... Oh, well, no. What, now what have I done? No, I'm not feeding them. No, we get rid of that quest. It was to disrupt the summoning. So that one you get a pass on. But the fight against Mekatork, the purpose of it was to kill him. Right, this is the wrong one. That's why I've just picked up a random quest without looking at it. Oh, balls. I'm now surrounded by pirates without a pirate hat. No, you're not contradicting. It's not really a rule. Any rule has an exception anyway. But you specifically went into that room with Kill Jaden in Summer Plateau to disrupt a summoning, not to actually kill anyone. Anyway. You use your BfA 320, taking ages to unlock the cloak. See, I can't... Yeah, I did do that, but I can't remember all the steps in it. Right, where am I? I need to go up, don't I? Oh, this is...
Stand and deliver.
God. Alright, this doesn't seem to be helping me. Am I on the right level at least? Maybe now.
It's a watery grave for you!
Well, it is, but I mean, it's just the nature of the game now, isn't it?
I'm sure.
You know, in vanilla WoW. Right, do you know what? I'm not carrying on with this quest anymore. Let's just get out of here. In vanilla WoW, it took you about a year to get a legendary, unless you were lucky. And then, you know, it went up to the point where they were just giving legendaries away, start of mop. And now you can get it in a few hours. It's just the nature of the beast. Just like these days, you know, an expansion comes out and you're in a full set of epic gear before you walk into your first raid. I mean, that is a baffling concept to someone who played vanilla. Truly baffling. In fact, I remember TBC, so the first expansion, when I was getting myself raid ready. And I remember being amazed that I had almost full blue gear before going into the TBC raids, which was most unlike, you know, the situation in vanilla itself. Right, ferry to just... Right, let's just do that.
Fancy a cuppa? Smooth sailing. Heading to Drusbar, eh? You're lucky you got me, skipper, in this boat. Most of the ferrymen won't dock there anymore. What with all the dark rumours about.
Everything's tedious. That is one of the main problems of the game for casual players, I think. There are very good parts to the end game in this game that I think are unsurpassed. I think the raiding is excellent. I think Mythic Plus dungeons are excellent. But I think the experience for a true casual is lacking. And as I say, effectively the moment at which I become convinced that Shadowlands isn't going to correct that, I will actually just quit the game, because there's no point. I would rather be spending the time playing something else or doing something else, because at the moment, like, there's Elder Scrolls Online I'm enjoying, and I'd also, you know, I can't play Warhammer at the moment because physical tabletop game with our lockdown, can't do that, but I can be preparing for it. I can be painting more models and doing stuff like that. So which is a shame, because like Elder Scrolls Online is really good for a casual player. I don't understand why they can't just take some notes.
Something about Drusbar lately that gives me the willies. Whatever your business is there, I recommend you get it done quick.
Ah, well, you need the cloak to do the and Zoth encounter, don't you? Tower of the Dam's in the alpha. Any thoughts about it? Not yet, no. Still sulking for not being in. Not that I expected to be in the alpha. I'll try and catch up with a few things over the next few days and then have a think about it. At the moment, I've been mostly trying to... It's quite funny. I was mostly trying to catch up on class changes, because although that's not the important thing for me, that's the obvious thing for me to catch up on. And there's been some dismay that there's not been any actual proper Ret streamers giving any real considered views of the spec in the alpha.
There we go. This is the furthest I'll take you.
AP has gone in Shadowlands, is it? Morning Storm Send.
If you have you better
I-
take her with you here.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be something similar, or that does the same job. Do I want to be on this side or that side? This side, I think. I mean, the thing is, that AP for me has been a complete failure of a system, because I've experienced it in 2 expansions now as a Mythic Raider and as a complete casual, not raiding at all, anything. And for a Mythic Raider, it is pointless, because the whole purpose of it is to encourage you to play the game more and therefore stay subscribed more. But for a Mythic Raider, you don't need to do that, because you're going to subscribe anyway, because you have to do that to be able to raid. And for a casual player, so I was convinced during Legion that the purpose for it was to encourage casual players. But then I found as a casual player, it doesn't work, because you don't care about it. I didn't care about the power of my neck, because I wasn't doing extremely challenging content. I was doing some Mythic Plus dungeons at a reasonable level for which the neck I had was already adequate. Is that Ret video still going to happen? I did a Paladin video which is going to contain all I can do on Rets at the moment, when only 2 things have been announced and I can't actually play it. And the problem is that the people that can play it and that have chosen to report anything on Ret don't actually know what they're talking about. So we're a bit stuck, I'm afraid. I'm not going to try and watch a Preach video and try and discern what's actually going on when he's busy saying things that don't make sense. I'm afraid. Go to the change to give my opinions. Well, I did do that. That's already done. It's most of it was covering general Paladin changes, but they are the more important ones anyway. Tipping point for you was Tomb of Sargeras. Once we were done with Kil'jaeden and you were out there. See, that's what I was most salty about in Legion. I never got the Kil'jaeden mythic, because the guild I was in, I mean Legion, you know, I was in, apart from the very first tier, I wasn't really competing raid-wise. So it was everything was taking a long time. And although the guild did get Kil'jaeden a couple of weeks before the next, patch, unfortunately, they killed it on a night when I wasn't able to make it because of a parents' evening or some evening event I had. At the college I worked, so I never actually got the cutting edge on Kil'jaeden. I was not happy. And that's a bit of an interesting moment for reflection. When I started, oh, don't listen to Balula. No, I used to really like Balula. He was actually, there was a point when he was my favourite WoW YouTuber, and I think he, I would still say he brings a lot to the table in terms of his understanding about the tech behind the game and things like that. However, where he blotted his copybook for me was he brought out a guide for Legion, and it was a shaman guide, and he basically ripped it off someone else. And the reason I know that is because at the time I was in the guild with the authority on enhancement shamans, which is the one who ripped it off, a fellow called Word Up. And yeah, so at that point I just instantly boycotted it. You know, it's one thing to like comment on what another, you know, creator might be saying, but to just straight off rip off someone's work is not on. So at that point I just didn't watch another video he ever did. Ooh, one more level to go. He much preferred mop raiding where the fights were hard but you only needed a couple more people to carry the important stuff. I mean, it depends what you needed to do. But I did enjoy mop raiding. I also enjoyed WOD raiding. You know, I thought both of those expansions, I absolutely loved the raiding in both of them. I didn't not enjoy Legion raiding, I have to say. I thought there were some fights that were poor. You know, the Avatar fight was poor.
I was given some plant scraps by a kindly old woman down the way for my pig feed, but I'm afraid it may have been tainted. My swine have become afflicted with a malady that makes them unusually...
He quit after Mythic Blackhand, wow. Came back, end of HFC to get them out before Legion. Oh,
I will attempt another shipment by week's end.
I've not been that bothered about the mounts. In fact, the mount wasn't the mount for the last one a really crap one. It wasn't that green wolf thing. Wasn't that? Or am I? Or was that the one for the achievements one? Alright, I'm mixing them up there. What was the mythic mount for that one? The metal... Oh, yes, okay, yeah. Oh, that's alright, I suppose, yeah. Oops. At some point before Shadowlands, I'm going to have to sit down and redo all my add-ons properly again, my UI.
What can I do for you? Keep the wind in your sails.
Sip it outside. This village is mine. The mother has willed it.
Oh, Baloo did a pally guy for Legion, had no idea what he was talking about. No, he doesn't. I mean, the thing is, about you've got to bear in mind, he's you know, he's a commentator, but he's a casual commentator. There's lots of things he can talk about and have perfectly valid views on, but he doesn't know how to play the game in terms of, like, you know, playing his class well or anything like that. He doesn't do competitive content. Unless that's changed this expansion. He certainly didn't while he was building himself up. He understands, he can certainly talk about the tech in the game, and he can obviously talk about any aspect of playing the game from like an enjoyment point of view as a player of it. Right, I've done it again, haven't I? Why have I just rushed into a load of mobs when I know I struggle against them? Oh, it's done it again. This is taking the piss now. This is actually taking the piss. Yeah, sorry, Storm Sound. It keeps... ever since I've started streaming WoW, it has been doing it like at least once in the session, but today it's just doing it all the time. Legion BfA achievement seems a lot less fun. I have never... I mean, I have a... Because the introduction to achievements for me was really scuffed. It caused me to quit the game for the first time, really. Because, obviously, they were brought in Wrath, really. And... now, in Wrath, I wasn't... Although I was in the beach and everything like that, I wasn't like paying attention to a lot of things coming next. I just sort of played it. I didn't get involved much in a lot of the other stuff. Oh no. So, from my point of view, this is how Wrath of the Lich King went. We did Naxxramas. I'd only just dinged level, what was it, 80? I can't remember now. Yeah, 80. And we went to do Naxxramas, and we cleared Naxxramas. And then we did the other two the Dragon's raids, Malagos and Obsidian Sanctum. And then that was it. It's like, you know, we leveled up. And then we cleared all the raid content. And I killed all the raid bosses before I'd even killed all the dungeon bosses. And I was not avoiding dungeons. You know, it was like being in a World First Guild. Only we were a competitive guild, don't get me wrong, but we're not World First Guild. And then what was left to do, all that was left to do, was achievements. And so I thought... Now, I didn't realise, but I thought to myself, is that what raiding is now? Is it that we're just going to clear the content, if you're a competitive guild, clear the content really quickly, and then the actual raid content is just doing the first to do the achievements? Is that what it is? Because that's what it seemed like. Now, obviously, I since learned that in the next time, hi Deja, the next time we had a raid, it was, what's its face, Ulduar, and that introduced, you know, the hard mode of raiding that you could turn on, which is a nice idea. It's a good idea. But I didn't know about that. I just thought raiding was going to be, you know, blasting through all the bosses and then doing pointless achievements. So that's when I quit the game. Now, had I known that they'd just been lazy on Naxxramas and not actually brought out any challenging content for it, and that it would all be corrected in the next expansion, the next patch, sorry, then I would have stayed in the game. And it's a big regret that I didn't, but that's purely with hindsight. So for you, Wrath was one of your favourite expansions. Yeah, for me it was not. Because of that. Because as soon as I started raiding in WoW, that's all I was really bothered about. It's the only content I was really motivated for. Alright. Is that better than what I've got? Higher item level, so I guess so. You lost the Lich King realm first by one knockout. See, ironically, the guild I was in when I quit was a competitive guild. So I would have had a very tasty number of achievements to my name, raid achievements, with very nice early dates on them as well.
I am out of range.
So it is my everlasting regret But it is purely with hindsight. I didn't make an error. But it is my regret that I didn't know that they were planning that and stay with it. Because I would have enjoyed the rest. Well, actually, I say I would have enjoyed the rest of Wrath. That's a lie, isn't it? I wouldn't have enjoyed the arena raid, would I? In fact, I didn't when I came back. But I would have enjoyed Ulduar, and I would have enjoyed Ice Crown Citadel. But there you go. Death's Demise, yeah. See, I don't have. I would have had that. Don't have that. I'd have had quite a lot of nice little ones there. You like the tournament? Yeah, I'd have. I mean, you know, obviously some people must have liked it because someone at the end of the day designed it. But I'd have hated it. What happened there? That was a bit quick. The noob was a great fight. Twins was kind of cool too. Yeah. See, I mean, I obviously when I saw them, I only saw them as someone going through it, like clearing it, rather than progressing on it. But I didn't see anything in there that I would have enjoyed.
What is going on?
Most likely I wouldn't have liked the content drought at the end of the Wrath Elixir. Not, I don't know. I've never really complained about content droughts. Obviously we've had them since. I've never really complained about them because I just use it to play another game. I'm absolutely fine with the content drought. And the other thing to bear in mind is this. A content drought at the end of an expansion is only a content drought for so many people. It's not a content drought for people who would be in the beta and testing, because that's the time you would be so, you know, I suppose in some ways I've never really experienced a content drought in that term. Because the only expansion that I was there for the testing of and didn't take place in testing was TBC. I didn't actually sign up for that. But I was in the beta for Wrath early on. Same for MOP. Not Cataclysm. I was for WOD. I was in really early for BfA. BfA I was in the second wave of Alpha. So, you know, I've been in early testing on every expansion when I've been playing the game. You've been waiting for Shadowlands since BfA launch. Oh. I mean, in a way, I mean, as soon as I wasn't going to be raiding, seriously, I did think at that point, maybe that'll be it for me. Then I joined with some people I used to raid with in Legion, just to do some stuff casually. But of course, what happens with casuals is they play the expansion for a few months and then quit. So, you know, and these were the people I was playing, doing the Mythic Plus dungeons with. So obviously that went south. And I wasn't prepared to pug or just go around finding new casual guilds or anything. I really couldn't be bothered. So I just sort of stopped. You got WOD beta because your guild boosted a GM. Oh, do I think Shadowlands will release early now? Yeah, I would concur with Laertes there. No, if anything, it would release later because California is in lockdown as well.
This land is cursed.
Let's have a look. I'll kill you first. You've gone through 5 guilds in your hull because people keep quitting the game. I mean, one thing that really was a blight for me. I mean, I've been a recruitment officer in a number of guilds over the years. But one thing that I noticed was particularly bad in Legion is you had a lot more raid guilds than can be accommodated by the number of raiders. And I think the reason is what used to happen is you'd have guilds that would do like, you know, maybe in WoD, you'd have guilds that would do like heroic raiding. And then they wouldn't really be able to do mythic. They might do a boss and mythic, and then that would be it. So then what would happen is some people would think, you know, some of the better ones in it will go, well, I want to do mythic raiding, so I'll join a mythic raiding guild. And, you know, as a recruitment officer, I would be on the lookout for these sort of, you know, effectively diamonds in the rough, you know, the ones who are going to be new to raiding, have the potential to learn. And you'd recruit them. But what happened in Legion, and I'm not saying it's a criticism this, but what happened in Legion is all of a sudden those heroic raiding guilds could kill a few bosses on Mythic. They wouldn't get very far in, but they could kill more than just the first boss. They could kill several bosses. So they tended to retain more of those players who may have looked elsewhere because they were getting to do a bit of Mythic raiding. Now some of them could have been capable of a lot more Mythic progress than they were getting, but at the end of the day you don't always leave the guild if you like the guild. So that meant it was a real stretch. It was really tough to recruit. Mythic Plus also didn't help with guilds because people were powering up to Mythic level. Yeah, I mean the way you could outgear stuff as well was ultimately part of it. I mean that was effectively why those guilds were. It wasn't that the fights were necessarily easier than WoD. It was because you could outgear them. And like it's, Mythic Plus was part of it, but also the artifact weapons themselves, because you could power those up in trivial content, or at least relatively non-challenging content. Oh, so I've done those now. Have I done everyone? Oh no, I've got to kill this guy. Oh dear, don't let me go all sciencey on you. Very nice. Right, I have to use last stand. And it's gone again. Ion. This is annoying. Oh, okay. He put a bleed on me. Thank you. No, if you research it, you absolutely should be locked in. Or not necessarily. If you're not locked in, you have to be made so that you can't pass on the infection. In all seriousness, the coronavirus is described by public health experts as the scariest thing they've seen in their lives. And the top public health experts have had long lives. They've been around a long time. And I can explain to you in a little bit of detail about exactly why that is, because that is understood why it is so scary. You absolutely do not trivialise it.
business and I'll mind mine.
Yeah, we're not. Oh well, no, I understand the rules. On the channel where I actually make my money, I discuss the coronavirus every single day. I understand what you can and can't. Everything I would want to say about it, I'm fine with. What you're not allowed to do is to spread misleading information about it because of the danger it's causing, because people have been misinformed about it, and it is extremely dangerous.
Mainlander, eh?
I have multiple channels, but this, the reason why I stopped putting content on this channel is because, so basically the way it worked is I had to stop. I mean, it all stemmed from stopping playing WoW competitively, but I was still playing it casually, and I was playing other games as well, and I was getting into Warhammer, and I was doing stuff on that. Then I started doing like a news and politics channel, and where am I going? That started taking off, so I started spending more time on that, and that is now what I do full time. Well, I say full time. I didn't intend to do it full time. I just happened to. I left my job at the college I was working. Nothing bad happened or anything, but there's just something that I wasn't happy with, and so ended up doing this full time. But I may still, I do a little bit of part-time teaching still. I would still like to do some. Oh, I like the bees, so I will kill them. But at the moment, yeah, I'm able to do it YouTube full-time effectively. But it is full-time. It is unfortunately not waking up in the morning and going on and just doing a bit of a stream. It is the absolute dream to be able to be full-time YouTuber just doing a gaming channel, because then you can just talk shit for a few hours a day. Unfortunately, I have to research things. Alexander, it's not a matter for debate. It is far more dangerous than the flu. That is a scientific fact. It is only disputed by the same people who tried to dispute that global warming was anthropogenic, because it wasn't in their political interest to do so. There is no scientist at all that has done any research on this that has even disagreed with the general consensus. Still waiting my science channel, so am I. The science channel for me would be my the one I'd most want to do, and so I don't want to do it until I'm really ready. And I don't really see how I would ever be ready, because I'd need the time. As my political channel, it is called A Different Bias. What else does he want? Have I given him some entrails? I haven't given him some entrails. But anyway, I try and keep politics off this, because at the end of the day, people are going to disagree with things like that. But something like this is not political. I mean, this is a matter of scientific fact. What am I supposed to do now? Oh, just witness it. I can't remember all this. The problem with this is supposed to be a parody of The Wicker Man. And obviously this guy is supposed to be the one that was played by Christopher Lee. And you imagine Christopher Lee's voice, and then you listen to this yokel and you just think, this is not right. It's not right. Should have got someone with a more dramatic voice to do it, even if it is a parody. There aren't plenty of scientists that disagree. There are none. And You won't have done your research because I can assure you there are none. What you are likely to have been taken in by is something that puts in a few references that look, oh, that looks authentic, but it won't actually be in a scientific journal. There is no peer-reviewed paper anywhere that disputes the facts of the matter. There are people who are only interested, and this is politics in general, there are people who are only interested in their own wealth. And they will attempt to muddy the waters, and they have the resources to present a load of stuff as if, you know, to look authentic to someone who's not in the habit of reading scientific journals. Because people have shown me them. I've seen them. They'll link you these things and you'll just look at it and say, that's not a scientific paper. And coronavirus is not influenza, it's coronavirus. It's called that for a reason. It's not a strain of something, it is the thing itself. The strain is called COVID-19. They were expecting an influenza-based pandemic. You know, some countries, well, lots of countries in the world have been preparing for a flu-based pandemic for some years. But that's not what we got. We may still get that at some point. That may still happen. But that's not what this is. Oh. I no longer like these bees. A low fatality rate. That's what makes it so dangerous, Alexander. That is the thing that makes it dangerous. You know, the experts, what they do is they compare it with SARS. SARS, you would think, you know, without any knowledge of virology, you would think SARS was more dangerous because when you contracted SARS, you developed symptoms very quickly and there was a high probability of death. The reason this is different, the reason this is more dangerous is because it has a much lower chance of fatality. What that means, and also you don't develop symptoms for a long time after becoming infected. So what happens is you get infected with it, you don't develop symptoms. You are carrying it and then you go to around and about and you interact with people and you pass it to them and then they incubating it as well, and again it's not affecting them, and then they pass it to other people, and before the first person displays even symptoms, they've passed it to potentially hundreds or thousands of people, and some of those people of course will die. That is what makes it more dangerous. SARS burnt itself out because you suffered the symptoms really quickly. And exactly what Raven's Nest is saying there, a successful virus does not kill the host. You know, it's literally like moving into a house and smashing all the walls in. You don't do it. That is why the experts are describing this, as I say, as the worst pandemic they have seen in their lives by some distance. It is the scariest shit they have seen, and these are people that have dealt with Ebola, SARS, MERS, the works. Yes, I am rather more concerned for what it may mutate in as well, the fact that we haven't really contained it very well. Go on then, Shadowlands, get back to WoW. Shadowlands, when we die, we get a different ghost shape and different waviness while we run back, etc. Is that to keep us entertained while we're getting annoyed at having to make a ridiculous corpse run again? Am I supposed to be in the, is that a cave I'm supposed to be in? I'm supposed to be in a cave. Yes, I am. What does he want? Oh, alright, okay. Oh, that's a thing. Level 120. Oh, hello. Is he happy now? What do you mean you don't see the problem with the virus if it doesn't harm you? I'll explain the problem with the virus. Imagine playing Russian roulette, right? Most of the time when you pull the trigger at your head, it won't harm you. Are you saying there isn't a problem with playing Russian roulette? Because that's what it's like. No one knows whether it harms them or not. And this is one of the problems with certain world leaders, and my own head of government is responsible as well, for getting across the idea that this is only harmful to people who have like underlying health conditions or who are elderly. That's not true. It can kill anyone. There isn't anyone who will know that they are safe until they've contracted it. We know that the majority that contract it will ultimately not die. But first of all, it's selfish to think, oh, it's fine to pass it around if I don't die, because others will, that you infect. You know, I wouldn't have thought most people like the idea of killing their granny. But the other aspect of it, I'll finish this one off. The other aspect of it is no one knows whether they are one of the ones that's fine or not. The only way to find out is to pull that trigger to your head. That's when you'll find out. But as I say, it's not just about whether it affects you or not. It's the people you can infect, and it's a huge number, because you will be carrying this thing around and be infectious for weeks without necessarily even realizing. What do you mean no healthy people have died of it? Lots of healthy people have died of it. It was only about a week after the first death in the UK that a teenager, fit, healthy teenager with no health issues at all, died from it.
Steady on ahead.
Why is he going faster than me? NPCs are not supposed to be faster than me. Come here. There are lots of names. Why don't you just Google person with no underlying health conditions dies to coronavirus, you'll find it in every single country.
To what do I owe the pleasure?
The majority have underlying health conditions, or could do with a shield maybe. Do I? No, get that.
Best of luck.
Or are elderly, but not everyone. I mean, for goodness sake, the doctor, one of the first doctors to have to deal with it, died of it. He didn't have any underlying health conditions. He was quite young. In fact, he was very young. He was younger than me. Oh dear God. No, the measurements are not enough in some countries. There is no country where the measurements are the methods are too harsh, because there is no country that has these lockdowns where people are not dying. You do have arguments, you just not seem to be listening to them, Alexander. There is not a single country that has imposed a lockdown that does not have people dying every day. If you want to avoid a lockdown, then everyone needs to take action to make sure they do not infect others. And that means restrictions on movement without an actual lockdown. It means face masks. It means... Well, if you look at South Korea, it also means you need to be traced. You need to be traceable. We don't really accept that sort of behaviour in Western democracies, so we have to put up with the lockdown. It's our fault for not trusting our governments. Or you could argue the government's fault as well for not being trustworthy sometimes. No. No. People are not dying of the flu, anything like this. Nothing like this. If I was to contract flu, I will not die. Right? Also, if I was to contract flu, as I've already explained to you, Alexander, if I were to contract flu, I know I've got the flu. If I contract the coronavirus, I do not know that I am infectious with the coronavirus. So if I have flu, 1, I know I'm not going to die. 2, I can stay away from people who would be at risk of dying because I know I'm infected, and I will just stay away from people. Neither of those things is true of the coronavirus. That is what makes it dangerous. I'm sorry you don't understand, but just because you don't understand doesn't stop these things being facts. But anyway, we should be discussing WoW here. Really. I'm not saying it's trolling. I don't accuse people of trolling. But you just, unfortunately, getting your information from the wrong sources. If you're going to look up scientific studies, you have to look up scientific studies. And sometimes those scientific studies are behind paywalls for which you have to pay. I mean, I can see a lot of them sometimes because I pay for subscriptions to scientific journals. You don't just get to look at something that's posted. Anyone can post something online, bear in mind. Don't be fooled by the fact it seems to have a load of references and someone's name who claims to be a doctor. If it's peer reviewed, it will be in a scientific journal. It won't just be on the internet floating about somewhere. Do I think we might get a second wave? I think it very likely, because I think at least one country, and I think I might be living in one of them, will attempt to ease the restrictions too early. And without something else in place. Because we know what works. Because, first of all, everyone, treating this as if it's brand new and we don't know what's going on. It's a pandemic and we know how pandemics work. Secondly, there are countries that have got this under control and we know what they do. They test, they track, and they isolate. And there will be a country that will not do that. They'll come out of its lockdown and they'll not do that. Until we've got a vaccine, and everyone's just assuming, oh, we'll get a vaccine, then that'll be fine. We don't know that that's going to be fine either. But that's... So I think it's possible, I don't know how likely, it is possible that for some considerable time, life will not return to normal as we knew it 3 months ago. Australia wants to ease restrictions. Lots of countries want. In fact, every country wants to ease restrictions. There's no getting away from the fact it's all right. I mean, I would say you've got to prioritise lives, but at the same time, you can't ignore the economy. And you know, the problem is that there is a pull between saving as many lives as possible and saving as much of the economy as possible. And it's one of these things. The more lives you try and save, the bigger a hit you take to your economy. And a country needs a strong economy. You know, these are uncomfortable facts. So it's really just a question of how do you balance it. There are people who are getting oh god, oh dear. There are, in all seriousness, Alexander, YouTube are very hot on the promoting conspiracies. You can't promote nonsense conspiracies. You know, I don't ban people, or I don't like to ban people, but YouTube do have their guidelines. You're not allowed to just go waving around. If you were to mention a particular conspiracy theory, shall we say, I would actually just have to ban, because you can't do that. And it's not sensible to. South Korea have dealt with it perfectly well. Now, to be fair, what South Korea have done, we couldn't do in any European country. Because it's not just the face mask that is important to make sure, or to increase the chance that you won't spread it to others, but they're also tracked on their phones. You know, the government are tracking them. It's anonymised data, but everyone is tracked. And if you move, you know, outside certain regions, you'll get buzzed on your phone and things like that. They've got drive-through testing. You know, so people who need to be tested can be tested quite quickly and easily. There's not a huge... If you actually look at the amount of testing being done, it's not massive. But that's because it's targeted and it's been effective. Which just shows you don't have to have masses. You know, they've done less testing than Germany per capita. But, you know, but they've targeted correctly. So when people have developed symptoms, they've been tested. And they've traced people who they've been in contact with, you know. And if you do that, then you can, you know, it's not normal life, but you can sort of get about. You are still taking a bit of a hit because you still have to socially distance as far as possible, but it does also mean you don't have to shut down as much of the country as you know, European countries have had to do. Right, what am I actually going to do with use here? Oh yeah, that final foot. I was going to do that final foothold and I completely forgot. I've only got 10 minutes now. You know, masks reduce... Yeah, that's the whole point there. The masks reduce the chance of you spreading it. That's the important thing. That's what's important. Not spreading it to others.
Soldier. Our work has just begun. Legend grows.
Because that's the biggest risk when you of going out. It's not contracting the virus. For you personally, it will be, but it's not.
Let us seize this opportunity and end this war once and for all.
The major risk is you passing it to others, because like I say, the biggest risk of this is you pass it to someone. I'm just getting loads of crap here. I'm not even going to do these quests, am I? You pass it on to someone, and then they, you know, again, could pass it on to more and more and more people. So when you go out, the priority for the country is making sure you don't pass it on, not that you don't contract it. Because if one person contracts it, one person contracts it. It's when one person passes it on, it turns into a huge problem. I'm just gonna mill about, actually, for 10 minutes, because then I need to get off anyway. Anyway, what character we're going to level up from Shadowlands? So if the XP boost is staying up, I'll tell you what. So I've got... So yeah, I've already done the Hunter and the Warrior now. In Shadowlands, if I'm going to be playing it, I want to bring my Paladin back to the Alliance. His Horde at the moment. I'm not going to mess about while the quest could get screwed up. So his Horde at the moment is going to be Alliance again. So I'm not opposed to having a Horde character just to experience the Horde side of it. And I've got a level 110 Demon Hunter ready. I already sort of pre-leveled up to 110. So I might go on that next week. That's on Taran Mill. But then in terms of other ones, I'd still like to get my Death Knight up and my Rogue. I'm not sure I've got a burning desire to get anything else. Unless I'm... Oh, the Monk. Maybe a Monk. Yeah. One of my monks.
And what of the countless dead? Of the families that will never be whole again? What is your report?
The Kaldori have been loyal to the Alliance. Are we now left to fend for ourselves?
Oh. What's this?
Velen, please share what happened with our friend.
The Wardens are watching.
Not all who wander.
I wish things were different, High Priestess. But with the war raging in both Arathi and Zandalar, an assault on Darkshore would stretch us too thin.
My people need action, not excuses. We will not languish in Stormwind while the Horde defiles our lands.
I vow we will recover Teldrassil before the war is over. But we face dwindling resources and rising casualties. If I can ask your patience for a while longer...
No. We will reclaim our home now.
Tyrande.
We shall have vengeance for the slain, and show Sylvanas that she has not won. And if the Alliance will not aid us, we shall do so alone.
Tyrande left for Darkshore ahead of our army. What is your report? To wrest it from the Horde herself.
I see.
Your aid is welcome,
Champion.
hero.
Our
At least
forces
we
in
can count
Zul'Gazar
on
have
you.
not yet begun their assault.
Tyrande's ship was
aid
last seen.
So Dark has a knife as an option at the barber shop, right? Well, I mean...
Of course. You know you can always speak your mind.
The Night Elves saved my people from our curse. They offered us refuge in Darnassus after our kingdom fell.
You know, I have to get off at 10 anyway. I have to be quite strict on the timing on these streams. Because I have many other demands on stuff. And apart from anything else, I'm sort of in someone else's house as well that's accommodating me. I don't like them. They always go around being a bit worried about not making too much noise, even though I said it's sort of fine. And as I haven't actually done this on any character, I might as well have a little look at it. I probably won't have time to finish it, will I? Get off your thing. See you, Storm's End. And I am all in favour of nice cosmetic. I wish there would. I keep saying again and again. I wish they would put more cosmetic rewards in the game. Right, it doesn't really explain what I'm supposed to be doing here, does it? There's no... What? I'm not even here... Am I even here for... Travel to Zoram Strand. Okay, well I don't know where that is. And... Oh, is that... Okay, maybe I Down there. You've been working from home and the neighbour's dogs bark all day. I don't mind dogs. I mean, dogs are dogs. We've got dogs here. We've got 2 pugs here. They are as thick as mince.
A powerful adversary has been spotted nearby. Act swiftly, champion.
Oops. Standing in shit. Not good. Oh, it's also not good.
The threat is no more.
And gold is also not good. Never mind. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Tom. Yeah, it is on the outskirts. I mean, for me, I sort of have been largely working at home anyway, of course, since the start of the year. That's when I went full-time. But I have been doing a bit of part-time teaching, which I'm now doing remotely. So, yeah, I am now working entirely from home. Which suits me, because what it means is I can do a bit of work, you know, and then spend an hour on a game, and then do more work, and then the odd half hour here and there. The only downside is that it turned out this year was a really bad year to become a full-time YouTuber, but there you go. Is it maybe slightly in a different zone? Might be in Ashenvale or something. Alright, we'll see what...
Surrender ship, or at least what is left of it. The wardens are watching.
She must have destroyed it so she would not be followed. I never miss a shot. Dorothy will accompany you. We are not alone here.
I'm going to have to leave it there, though.
You stand guard.
I might just have to log out here, actually.
Search the area.
Probably finish this one off at some point during the week. So, well, there we go. We'll call that a night. I'll be on Tuesday, but that'll be Elder Scrolls Online on my old Vampire Necromancer, who will be level capped by then, but I'll still be doing the main quest lines. Are these an Azeroth assaults weekly or daily? Yeah. Hopefully you're asking that to someone else, because I don't know. And I'll be back on again next Sunday with WoW, with probably... I'll decide then, but I might do the Demon Hunter, then we do some Horde levelling as well. But I'll call it there. Thanks very much for coming on, everyone, and until next time, I will see you later.